So I'm going to ask each of our panelists to just introduce themselves and maybe a minute about your company and what you do there, and then we're going to get right into the moderated panel.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I currently work for LiveIntent, which is about a 200-person, I would guess, later stage startup doing people-based marketing. I started on the agency side and then worked kind of larger in-house. So I was a recruiter at eBay. Now I'm working at a smaller company, so I've seen kind of the spectrum as well. I started out as an opera singer, so this is actually my kind of stage. So
wow.
For any of you that are doing kind of a career change, I've been there, and hope to impart some information that might be interesting for you.
Great, thank you. So you're going to sing one note for us.
I was about to say, can we hear an hour?
Just one note.
One note. Wow. Not very interesting, but one note.
I can't. I'm not even going to try. So awesome. So we're going to try to keep this interactive. I believe Jamie sent you some questions. We're probably going to throw them out and come up with some new ones, so I hope you didn't prepare too much. For some of the questions, I'm going to ask an individual member of the panel. For others, I may ask the whole group. So we're going to mix it up. Let's see, who should we start with? You know what, Natalie's going to have to go first after that beautiful note. So the first question is, and this is a topic that is really kind of fascinating to our team over at Crowded. The majority of the developers tonight and the majority of the developers in the Crowded platform are what we would label between junior and intermediate developers. And one of the issues that we see in the market today, and I think it becomes a difficult pain point for candidates in general, is they may apply for a role that says junior developer, and then it says on the bottom, oh yeah, you need 9 years of experience and a PhD. So that necessarily doesn't make that a junior developer role. So I'd love to start with Natalie. We'll go right down the panel. Just give me a really quick definition of what you consider a junior developer, please.
I think a junior developer is 1 to 3, 4 years of experience. I guess 4 is more intermediate. So 1 to 3 years of experience. It also depends on what kind of background you're coming from. If you're coming out of a master's degree in computer science, you're going to be at a different level than somebody that just had boot camp experience. So even at the junior level, there are different kind of gradations and different considerations. I think that's a general description for us.
So again, we're going to mix it up a little bit. I may call on one specific panelist, and then again, it's as a conversation. So we encourage you to disagree with each other, or especially you could disagree with me, as everyone else usually does, and then we'll kind of continue from there. So maybe a little bit about what it's like for a candidate. Maybe if you put yourself in the shoes of a junior developer, and what it's like to go through and interview and work for an Amazon versus more of a mid-sized or later stage company that isn't yet public like a Meetup.
Having been at eBay and now at LiveIntent, I think another thing that I see is smaller companies tend to move more quickly, just because if you're working on a project and like you said, it tends to be a bigger piece of the overall pie. There are fewer other pieces to kind of work with. And so in a larger company, your little cog in the massive machine, you have to work with 15 other teams, and you have to wait for them to finish something that you then need to integrate with or use as a tool. And there's a lot more red tape, just because there are a lot of processes in place and a lot of people to keep in mind. So, and smaller companies with fewer people and often fewer processes, things tend to be a little bit maybe less stable feeling. There's less rules in place. Oftentimes you're actually offered the opportunity to help shape the culture, the way things work, offer up more of an opinion and actually get it higher up the chain so that people can hear it. You're not likely to talk to the CEO of eBay or Amazon or Google, whereas in a smaller company where your CEO is sitting right next to you, he can lend his ear. So those are a couple of the other differences, I think.
So at the last meetup, my question was the opposite of this one, and I don't think Mark liked my last question. I asked for each of our panelists to share, an experience that didn't go well. I basically said that someone on the intake looked great, they passed, with flying colors a coding challenge, whatever it was, and then within 90 days, I think everyone realized that it wasn't the right hire. So we're going to take it from maybe the more positive side today. So maybe if you could share either a story about maybe a recent hire, or maybe to frame what you'd love to see, again, thinking about junior developers on what sort of a great from sourcing all the way through onboarding experience for you would look like at your company.
Do you want a success story, or do you want a process?
Success story. Yeah.
Okay.
And it could be generalized a little bit, or it could be Fred. Either one.
We had a recent hire that I think is a really great guy to work with and a lot of fun. And I was just talking to a coworker how it was kind of an unlikely hire, maybe, just because if you look at the profile of this person, he had a computer science degree, and then he went and decided to be a concert pianist. And for 2 years, he played the piano. And then he decided, for whatever personal reasons, he didn't want to continue pursuing that. Tried to continue his career as a software engineer without having any previous real-world experience. And it's not necessarily the likeliest of candidates in terms of just looking at a resume, but somebody that really sets a goal for themselves and pushes and says, I'm going to practice every day. And I understand that sometimes you want to play Mozart, but you really just have to play the little arpeggio over and over and over again. And it's the same thing in coding, where sometimes you want to build this huge thing, but sometimes you just need to take it step by step and focus on the fundamentals. And that kind of attitude really translates. And the passion for really persevering and following a goal, that kind of personality is really great to have on a team. And, he's a great member of the collective, and we're really happy with the hire. And it's maybe not the likeliest on paper, but we're really thrilled to have him.
If there's any panelists, I won't go in a specific order, that maybe your company looks at bootcamp grads, or if you don't, that's perfectly fine too. It'd be great to kind of hear some of the way that you frame that, and maybe either sort of the pro or the con behind it. And again, any order you guys wish.
Every single person that I interview for an engineering role, whether it's coming out of school or it's an engineering manager, I ask them what they do on their own time. And this isn't something that I came up with. All of my engineering managers want to hear whether or not someone is just going to work, clocking in, doing the project, even if they're doing it well, doing the project and then going home, or if it's someone that's passionate about technology. They want to know what's coming down the pipeline in terms of the newest, the greatest, the most interesting. If you want to keep yourself in the loop, if you want to constantly be improving your skills, you need to be coding. If it's on the weekend, if it's in between, even if you're already employed, that doesn't mean you should stop working on your own stuff. It's how you keep abreast of changing technology, and it's moving so swiftly. It's the best gift you can give yourself, and it's the best thing you can do, like you said, to differentiate yourself from all of the people that are coming out of a boot camp or school and have just done the same projects as everybody else that's there. On the subject specifically of boot camps for us, we found that we're really looking for strong computer science fundamentals, an understanding of databases and architecture. And oftentimes the people that we interview coming out of a brief 12, 16-week boot camp, they just don't have enough experience to be able to speak to all of that. And so it's not that we won't look at people out of boot camps, it's that oftentimes we find that the brief amount of time that boot campers have spent with technology is just not enough to really give them that breadth and that depth of knowledge that even just a 4-year computer science degree can, which isn't to discourage people from applying. I think it just goes back to, don't just rely on the boot camp. Go and find it yourself. Computer science fundamentals, and I've heard this from every hiring manager I've worked with, from agencies, from when I was at eBay. It goes back to, we don't care what language you code in. We want to make sure that your fundamentals are solid, and from there you can learn any language you need for any project.
So, a red flag, what's the one thing that everyone in this room should not say to you on the phone or an email? And it could be a very specific thing that kind of blew up a process that was actually looking pretty good to start, or something a little bit more general.
One thing that I would say is be nice, and that it seems silly, but we get nervous during interviews, and so we get like some people talk really fast, and some people you remember that they're judging you as a person, someone to talk to on a daily basis, someone that they're going to, potentially want to grab drinks with in an after hour. So, it's not just your coding ability that's being judged, it's your team and culture fit. And that starts with, if a recruiter reaches out to you, hey, wanted to know if you're interested in this role. And I get people responding, how much are you paying for that role? And it's like, God, can you please pretend you're interested in the job before you ask me how much I'm going to pay you for it? Like, it starts with just the very, very beginning, talking to a recruiter. If people aren't nice to me, then I'm not going to put you forward to the hiring manager. And I've had people, I ask a technical question, and they say, oh, well, I can explain that to the engineers. And it's like, if you can't respect the first people you're talking to, we're just as important for culture fit screening, and I think sometimes I've seen engineers forget that, and that could lose you an otherwise great opportunity that you could be very well qualified for.
Just real quick, where is the coding challenge in your process in like one sentence so Joe doesn't yell at me?
We're trying to figure that out. For people straight out of school, zero experience, we're talking about actually having that be the first step, and it's just because we have such a high influx of really junior candidates, and we'd love to give an opportunity to as many as possible, but we'd actually love feedback from you guys, because if you feel like doing a coding challenge up front is a lot of commitment without much commitment on our part, we want to make sure that we're tailoring our process to make you guys excited to come work here as well. So we're actually trying to feel that out as well.